receive the recording, and you'll be more than welcome to send this out to anyone that's more than happy to sit through this webcast. Before we begin, I do have a few requests on housekeeping requests. This webcast is being recorded, so I do have all the lines placed on mute. If you do have any questions, and I do encourage questions, please feel free to type your questions in through the chat feature. They'll come directly to me, and I'll be able to answer them as we go through the webcast, and definitely at the end of the webcast during the Q&A session. So before we dive into the webcast itself, I do have a quick agenda for today's presentation. We're going to start out with some information about who we here at Sage and who we are. We'll then dive into why we should have a human resource management solution in place at our organizations. After we go through that, we'll dive into a live presentation of Sage HRMS and how we can utilize this to automate your HR procedures through things such as the employee record, reporting capabilities that come with it, as well as empowering your employees through the employee self-service portal. And of course, as I said, if you do have any questions, there is a Q&A session towards the end of the webcast. If you have any, please feel free to type them in into the chat box, and I'll be able to address them as we go through the webcast, and at the very least at the end of the webcast as well. Now, to start out with some information about who we are here at Sage, is that Sage is a market leader for integrated accounting, human resources, payroll, and payment solutions. Sage is positioned to support the ambition of world businesses, and they're able to do that utilizing our 13,000 colleagues throughout 23 different countries. Now, rather than reading this entire thing for you, I'm sure you can read this yourself, what I really like to talk about who we are at Sage is that we're all passionate about helping organizations achieve their goals, as well as our business partner community, the way that many of you have got the information to come to today's webcast. We're all passionate about helping you achieve your goals and being successful. So today's webcast is really about how human resource management software can contribute to the success of an organization. But before we can really define the success that this can contribute, we first need to define what makes an organization. So if we're to look around and compare organizations that from the outside are pretty similar with the same kind of products, same kind of services, they're targeting the same market segment, we might notice some large differences in business results. So why is it that some companies are thriving while others are suffering to stay in business? What is the distinct difference between a good company and a great company? The answers to these questions can only really be defined when we start to dive into what makes an organization. And luckily with the attendees on this call, we're all HR professionals, we're in payroll or benefits. We all interact with the answer, and it's simply their people. The people that make up an organization are that company's unique and biggest assets. Now, if we were to ask any CEO out there, this is likely what they'll tell you. And we can see this in that paradigm shift from being a customer-focused organization to an employee-centric company. Now, for most companies, their employees are also their largest expense, or as I personally like to put it, their largest investment. After all, an investment is a cost that creates future value over time. So in other words, investing in your workforce should help your employees achieve their full potential. Now, I'm not saying necessarily immediately that will happen, but within that worthwhile payout over time. So as we all have been programmed through years of school, years of business, to really think into the terms of ROI, since every investment does need that healthy return on that investment. But we here at Sage, we'd like to challenge you to amend that thought process, and rather than thinking in terms of ROI, think in terms of something that we call here at Sage the return on your employee investment, or ROEI. Because as everything we've discussed so far, a company is only as good as its employees. We're used to talking about a company as if the organization itself is a person, but the organization does not have ideas, nor does it give service, and is by itself not efficient nor productive. the people that make up that organization, they do and they are. So how we treat our employees, how we invest in our employees, this has a huge influence on the bottom line. And in many cases, investing in and managing your human capital has a larger effect than investing in or in marketing or even R&D. So in short, this is all about attracting and retaining the right talent. Now, as we move into human capital management, why should you care? Everything we've discussed so far in this presentation is about how your employees make the difference. So one can connect the dots and come to the conclusion that how you manage your employees makes a difference. Companies utilizing paper-based HR, Excel spreadsheets, fragmented solutions, or multiple systems to produce that desired outcome, it simply doesn't cut it. There can be a lack of reporting or simply no reporting capabilities. It can be a lack of security. It can be unreliable and inaccurate, or no single point of truth. So when we look into Sage HRMS, we can see a modular and comprehensive solution that is designed to attract, retain, develop, motivate, engage, and manage your entire workforce. It's created by and for HR professionals. Our Sage HRMS is a comprehensive solution that enables you to decisively meet and engage and respond to your HR management challenges. And being that Sage HRMS is a modular solution, you get exactly what you need and want in order to meet those HR management challenges without having to purchase additional modules that you're not going to utilize. Now with Sage HRMS, you can expand the solution to integrated payroll, benefit management, recruiting and onboarding, employee self-service, risk mitigation and compliance, and talent, both training and performance management capabilities, as well as time and attendance management and analytical capabilities. So when we look into Sage HRMS and when we utilize this in our organizations, we're able to maximize every dollar that we invest in our employees. So what we're going to do now is move away from the PowerPoint, which everybody typically loves, and we're going to dive into the live presentation of Sage HRMS. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here, and you'll be able to see a green desktop with Sage HRMS loaded in the center of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by just logging directly into the core HRMS system. This portion of the solution is where all of your employee information is. This is only going to be for the key few administrators inside of your organization to have access to. And as we go through this, there's a lot of information that during the implementation of the solution, my presentation company, that we took some liberties in creating. So job titles, job codes, benefit information, or pretty much everything that can be customized organization levels, those will all be configured to your organization. So you may have the different job titles, different job codes, different org levels. Those can all be configured. So right from the beginning here, what I'd like to show you is some of you may have multiple companies under one umbrella. With Sage HRMS, we are able to manage multiple companies, both U.S. and Canadian-based organizations. As well as you have the ability of accessing Sage resources, most notably here, Sage University for training on all Sage products, regardless if it's Sage HRMS, Sage 300, Sage X3, and any other products you may have, as well as the abilities of connecting directly to our support team through live chat. With your own HR login for Sage HRMS, you have the ability of customizing it with your own links to different websites or even different locations on your computer that you utilize regularly when you're working with employee information. Now, the system is really designed to make everything as simple as possible for you. So searching for employees, of course, you'll have the username or ID. You can filter out whether they're an active employee or terminated on leave of absence or other. You can also further define your information that you're looking for. So are we looking for only employees under one department? Or are we looking for a specific employee that reports to different supervisors or different job titles? And simply filter out the information. Now, once we have an employee that we're looking to work with, we'll have all of their information at our fingertips. Of course, we'll have their contact information here, their personal information inside the system. You can track their Piped Act consent form. You can also track their original hire dates, their last hire dates. So if you do have employees that may work for you for a little bit, leave, find out that the grass isn't quite greener on the other side, come back, we can track those multiple hire dates, as well as any adjusted seniority dates or adjusted time off dates. We can make those adjustments without manipulating the original or last hire date. We can also track visa information or employment eligibility. For U.S. employees, we can track I-9 verification forms. And throughout the system, we'll see a few places where we can also track user-defined fields. So if there's additional information that you're looking to track, you have that capability of adding in your own fields and tracking your own information. Now, of course, we'll also be tracking termination information, employee types, termination type, reason, any notes, and the ability of marking this employee, whether they're rehireable, yes or no. So when we look into tracking these tasks here, when we click on something such as rehire an employee, it's automatically going to filter into showing you those rehireable employees. Now, as we continue along, we'll see the ability of tracking leave of absence information. We'll see them all in individual records. We can click on the plus to dive further into this and view the request dates, start dates, the scheduled return dates, actual return dates, the reason for this, and these are all configurable as well. Now, some of this information that we've seen so far, you can run notifications, you can run reports, and of course you have access to all the information inside the system. So we have alerts and workflow built into the solution that you can schedule notifications based off of return dates for an employee. So if you have an employee that's scheduled to return, you can send out an email directly to HR as well as to the employee that this is the scheduled return date for that employee. And you can utilize this for the employee start date to send out congratulatory emails letting them know thank you for your service, or utilize their birth date to send out a happy birthday email directly to the employee. So the alerts can be a very powerful tool in automating your notifications as well as your reporting. You also have the ability of adding events on the employee's file. I have a few examples in here for awards that the employees received and some certifications that the employee has with expiration dates written in here. And that alert system can also send out the notifications for this. So based off of your requirements, maybe the employee receives a notification 3 months in advance that their certification is expiring. We can also track notes in the system. And each of the notes also have an author in here, so later when we see the employee self-service portal, we'll see how a manager has the ability of accessing notes that the employee has. And if we ever have a note that is authored by HR, that manager won't be able to see it. So if we do have an employee that comes to HR, logs a complaint with their manager, maybe there's a conflict there, HR is able to log this note inside the system, mark it as an HR note, and that manager won't be able to see it, so we can eliminate that chance of retaliation. You also have the ability of adding in attachments to the employee file. Let me just log this right back up real quick. The attachments that you can log into the employee file is ultimately up to you. We don't limit the format of the attachment in there. So if you have video or audio files or any kind of documents, I have a couple examples of a very rudimentary resume for an employee that you can come in, download this information at any time, make changes, and then re-upload it if necessary. You also have the ability of adding in emergency contacts, of course a first and a second contact in here. And the nice thing about this is we'll see in a little bit with the employee self-service where we can push this information downstream to the employee to enter. Therefore, we're automating the point of entry. We're pushing it downstream to where we're eliminating the point of human error where we're writing down information, misinterpreting when we type this in, and we're just pushing it to the HR manager to approve it online, and it will update Sage HRMS. Now, as we continue, we'll also see things that we're tracking in here that will be linked to payroll. So if you're utilizing Sage HRMS payroll, Sage 300 payroll, this information will flow to your payroll engine. Of course, their personal information will flow as well, but their earnings in here will be linked to earnings in payroll. Benefit information will be linked to deductions in payroll. So you're able to automate this as well and avoid double entry. So we're tracking all of their pay information, their performance information, tracking their job information, their job title codes. Are they an exempt employee, non-exempt employee? Are they regular, full-time, part-time? Are they salary, hourly? We can track all this information inside the system, their position within the organization, who they report to. And if you have any employees with secondary jobs, we can track that information as well. So when we look into this, it's a lot of the same information about different jobs, the salary for that particular job, as well as their position within the organization, if they have a different supervisor for that second role. Now, anytime we make any adjustments to the employee's job or their pay, it will update their job history, and it will create a job history file. So we'll be able to log back everything from new hire of the employee throughout their career. And anytime we click on this, it's going to bring us into that history. So we'll see exactly what Adrian Jones here was doing as of January 1st, 2011. We also are able to see organization information about the employee at that particular point in time, their pay and performance, and if we are tracking any user-defined fields, it will take a snapshot of that information. Now, before we look into benefits, this information will also be linked to benefits. So if you have benefits that are tied to earnings, such as short-term disability, long-term disability, company-paid life insurance, dental, or whatever your benefits that are linked to earnings, those will also be recalculated based off of the changes that are made in here. So if we have a simple $5 raise, where recalculating benefits can take up a lot of time be very time consuming, it may be easier to just pull $5 out of your pocket to hand that employee. This system will automate that for you. So it's going to create that job history file and then update the benefits that are tied to that earning. We can log in the effective date for it, the reason for this change, so we can track history of your benefits. It would help if I can type correctly. And it's going to update benefits. So we look into benefits. Of course, we'll be tracking all of your group insurance, as well as we could track things such as long-term disability, short-term disability, company-paid life insurance. And if we check the include history record, it will show all the changes and the most current one bolded. In addition to this, we're also tracking dependents and beneficiaries for an organization. Within HRMS, we can also do time off, so we can align time off plans to the employee, and these are all built off basically of your requirements. So this employee particularly has 3 different plans in here. They have a personal time off, a sick plan, as well as vacation. And you can align these to different employees. You can have vacation salary, vacation hourly, as I have set up in the solution, and then you build up the accruals based off of your requirements. So as a first year, accrue 5 hours of pay period. The second year may accrue 3rd hour pay period or 6 hours of pay period, and you build them out based off of your requirements. So beyond this standardized HR database portion of it, you can also expand this to some things that I personally include with HR, especially it's about the employee, that's safety. So you can track your occupational health and safety incidents right in Sage HRMS. Again, you'll have that record field, so each incident will have its own record. You can then select the record and dive into it, viewing dates and times that this incident occurred. Is there restricted work days for the employee? Where did this happen? What was the employee doing when this incident occurred, and what happened to the employee? What treatment did they receive, as well as any workers' comp information, lost time, medical costs. And we'll see a little bit earlier how we can automate reporting with tracking this information as well as analytics. You can also have the ability of tracking career information, skills, education of the employee, previous employment. had a few issues with my presentation environment recently, as I've been testing other items out on it. Let me just relaunch that real quick. And beyond the information that we've seen, if there's additional information that you're looking to track in this employee file, you have the capability of adding in more and more information. So within Sage HRMS, you have the capability of adding in custom fields. So here's some examples of some custom pages that have been built out, such as company property. Maybe we've issued an employee a cell phone or a laptop. We can track that information. So this example here is a cell phone that was issued to the employee where we're seeing the dates it was provided, what type of cell phone was it, serial numbers, expiration dates, phone number itself, where did the employee receive this from? And we can send out those notifications with alerts and workflow based off of this. And these are very simple to create forms that you can add in yourself. It's not something that when you see the word custom may trigger money inside of your mind. You have that capability of adding this in. So just to prove that I'm not just blowing smoke here, the really quick creation of a new page, and I'm going to name it just that, very original name. You have a blank sheet of paper. Anywhere I click, I can bring in existing fields from Sage HRMS, existing fields that I've already created, or I can build out brand new fields. So this is going to be tracking keys issued to an employee. If anyone's out there that's in charge of IT, I'm sorry for what I'm about to just hit on the keyboard for naming this database field. And you also get to select what kind of data are we tracking. Character, numerical, is it date driven, is it from a table? In my case, I would like to just utilize a logical, yes or no. But if we are utilizing character or numerical, we can adjust the field length. As well as numerical values, we can adjust the decimal length. So now we have a brand new field that we can track data in. So the nice thing with these custom pages is not only can you quickly create information into them, but you can also utilize this as a quick way of pulling information to you. So if you ever do have an employee that may be applying for a loan, applying for a mortgage, and you start to get employee verification calls, you can simply utilize these custom fields to pull that information to you. So rather than going to 5 or 6 different locations, you have one page and it brings the pertinent information to your eyes. Now, as we move in from the employee file, when we start to move into the reporting capabilities within Sage HRMS, you have about 140 standard reports inside the system. Everything from, of course, your employees' reports all the way through payroll reports if you're utilizing HRMS payroll. So when we look in some of these reports, of course, we'll have compensation reports, so we can view salary history of employees, every change that's occurred, the dates, reason for it, the salary amounts that have been changed. And all of the reports will have standard criteria, so we can quickly select different departments. We can reset this by clicking the reset button, as well as the ability of selecting a particular employee or a range of employees. A few, if they don't have specific criteria, they'll just pull that standard report, but some reports will have specific criteria, and this will be specific to that particular report. We'll also have your turnover report, so you can run your statistics on this. For if you do have any employees in the U.S., we have your EEO reports, your employee and organization reports as well. So if you're utilizing events to track training, we do have more advanced training modules. However, if you're utilizing the event one, you can specify that I'm only looking for certifications between a certain date and then run this report. And it's going to go through the entire solution and show you any employees with certifications expiring between that date. The name of the employee, the certification, the effective date, the description, as well as the expiration date. We have your leave reports, your occupational health and safety reports, so we can see your incident analysis reports by injury, by location, organization levels, as well as your WSIB. I have been blown up a few times for calling it WSIB, and I've been able to correct that. So it is a WSIB report for those of you in Ontario. If you are utilizing the WCB or other reports, we can have those created inside the system as well. Some of the other reports that we have the capability of running inside the system, personal information reports, so really quick to find employee birth dates, age lists, as well as emergency contact information, so we can have that information at our fingertips. And as well as the ability of bringing in information for benefit reports. So my favorite report inside the system is a total compensation report. It really shows you the power of tracking all this information in the system, bringing in all of their information, their benefits that they've paid, their contribution, the employer contribution, as well as the amount above their annual earnings as the employer contribute to that employee's compensation. So it's a very strong report to show you the power of tracking this information. Now, all of these standard reports are just that. They're standard reports. However, Sage includes Crystal reports with Sage HRMS. So if you have a report that may have 9 out of 10 items, you can add that 10th item into it. Or that total compensation report that we just saw, the terminology and the wording, you may have a different form or a different wording that you would like to utilize. All that can be configured to meet your needs. And you have the capability of doing it yourself right through Crystal reports, as well as creating custom reports from the ground up. If you're looking for a simple, just a quick way of getting some data out of the system, such as I just want to see some employees by department, you can also utilize the secured query, which gives you access into every field within the system, regardless if it's a field from Sage or a field that you've created. And this is just a quick secure query of active employees by department. You select the fields. If there are custom, you'll see the double asterisk, so you can bring that information over. How are you going to group it, sort, filter, and then output this information? So this example, I'm going to run it into a quick Excel spreadsheet. So it's going to figure all this information and export it directly into Excel. And now I have all the information, so I can further manipulate it, do further sorting and filtering of information, further manipulation. I can insert pivot tables. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this system. Now, as we continue, we'll be moving from the Sage HRMS system, and we'll be moving more into the employee empowerment side of this. So this portion that we've been looking at so far has all been about the employee administration. This is where your admin will come into. Now what we're going to switch into is a web-based portion of it. This is where all your employees will have access to Sage HRMS. You'll have your own custom login page. Of course, I'm not going to force you to utilize my presentation Dunedin Enterprises here. We have color schemes, so this can be changed in here. As well, your own personal welcome message to your employees. You can load up your logo up here as well. Now, utilizing employee self-service, we're trying to empower your employees as well as offload some rudimentary tasks that take up time, such as an employee forgetting their password or first-time users. So we allow your employees to reset their passwords, register themselves. And then, of course, based off of your requirements, you have full control over what an employee has access to in here. Now, I have everything under the sun turned on. But as an administrator of the system, you have the ability of coming in and selecting what employees, whether they have no access or is it view only, or can they update this information. Now, if they are able to update it, you can also place whether it goes to an approval process prior to updating HR, and if so, what role is going to be doing the approving. Is it HR, is it the employee's manager, is it their secondary supervisor, is it payroll? You can break this all out as well as who will be notified. Now you have full control over the employee as well as the employee's managers. So when we look in here, every employee inside of your organization will have an employee tab here. This will be their own personal information. Only managers will have a manager tab. And this is where they'll be able to view their direct report information. And then then further, fewer employees will have an administration tab. And this is where they'll actually be able to control what the employee self-service has the capabilities of doing. Now, as we look into what the employee has access to, it's really what you're giving them access to is that their personal information, address information, they can make changes in here. They'll see the edit button. They can select that, make the changes. If it does require approval prior to updating HRMS, they'll be able to see that right up front. And then once they submit this for approval, it will generate that notification to whomever is approving this. And it will also generate an email out to that individual to come in and approve this information, so they'll be able to view current information, new information, as well as accept or reject this particular instance. As we continue, you'll be able to give them access into their phone information, their dependents and beneficiaries, emergency contact information, education. Again, whatever you would like to give them access to inside of their personal information. Some of the other things is their benefit information. We can show them their contribution as well as the employer's contribution. They'll be able to view their compensation history every time they've received a raise, their job history within the organization, or their performance information. As well, if we're utilizing Sage HRMS Payroll or Sage 300 Payroll, and even Sage 300 CRE, if any of you are utilizing the construction real estate, we can bring in the pay history from those payrolls so the employee can have access to it. So if you ever have that employee that's applying for a loan or applying for a mortgage and they need the last 3 months worth of pay stubs or pay advices, you won't have to have that employee knocking on your door for reprints. They're able to come right into the system and print out those and do what they need. Now, some of the things that the employer or the manager will have access to, of course, is their employee information, their employee compensation information, the most current information up front, or they can select that employee and dive into their history. They can quickly tab through each employee under that same section. They can view their job information, their job title up front. Again, select that employee to dive into it. Performance reviews, emergency contacts, phones, and etc. Now, one of the more powerful items in here is that note-taking capability. So they can select an employee and view any notes that they have the capability of viewing. They can select to add a new note, select the type of it, schedule a follow-up, so they can be notified when this note needs to be followed up on, type in their notes, and then send it off for approval prior to updating, or maybe it just goes straight into Sage HRMS to update the core HRMS. We can also add in some abilities for employees to request time off. So an employee can come in here and see any pending or request dates off. They can select different banks and request time off. Now, if we are utilizing a time and attendance system, this is always going to be better to place it into time and attendance, whether it's Sage time and attendance or whichever time and attendance solution you're using. Now, as we continue on here, there are more things that Sage HRMS can do further out than what we've seen today. So today we've covered the entire employee file. We've covered some reporting capabilities in here, as well as the employee empowerment, where we're looking at the abilities of the employee taking control of their information, making changes, the manager having access to the employee's information. But the system can be further expanded from everything from hire to retire that employee, to allowing the manager to come in and create requisitions for a new position to be created. So a template to walk them through that, as well as the ability for an employee to view training information. So if we're looking for more tracking of training, the employee can view their history of training. Or maybe you would like the employee to be able to take trainings online, and we have a solution for that called Cyber Train, where an employee can go online and take trainings. As well as the ability for an employee to clock in and clock out, request time off, maybe use timesheets or put in their miles of travel. Sage HRMS Time and Attendance has that capability as well. So there's a lot that we can expand the solution on. So, and just the last portion of this is paperless forms as an expanded solution for performance evaluations or handbook acknowledgments, managers requesting pay changes. So there's quite a bit that can be added into Sage HRMS. So this is the extent of where we're going to go to for today's presentation. So what I'd like to do is just switch right back into the PowerPoint portion of it and thank you all for your time today and invite you to go to sagehrms.com if you're looking for more information. There are plenty of on-demand webcasts of each individual module on sagehrms.com, as well as feature sheets on each product and customer success stories. As well, reaching out to your business partners to further dive into what exactly you're looking for in an HR solution is very effective for tailoring the system to your needs. And likely I'd be the one that would be sitting with you as well to present Sage HRMS to your particular needs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open this up to a Q&A, and if you have any questions, please feel free to type them directly in the chat box. I haven't seen any quite come up yet, so I will give you all a moment. And of course, after the webcast, usually things dawn on you 5 minutes after we hang up the phone that there may be a question. Please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is ryan.watson@sage.com, and it's right there on the screen. And this is being recorded, so if you do have anyone else that you would like to send this off to, I will be sending this webcast, this particular recording out to everyone that's joined in or requested to join in on this webcast as well. So are there any questions for today's presentation? Again, please feel free to send in those messages at any time. So I would take it as there are no messages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take everyone off of mute. Maybe they're just not able to get to the chat feature. I have had some emails for some issues that some employees were having. So I'm going to take you all off of mute and see if anyone may have a question that comes across on the chat portion. So does anyone have any questions out there? Okay. So I don't think anyone has any questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remute everyone again. If you do have any questions after we get off the phone, again, please feel free to reach out to me. It's ryan.watson, R-Y-A-N, period, W-A-T-S-O-N, @sage.com. And I will be sending this webcast out to you as soon as I get the recording back from WebEx. Again, thank you all for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Enjoy.